Hello boys and girls, this is Miss Embry, and I just want to go over the proficiency measure that we took this week so you can study this for your test, which will be on Tuesday. As you know, a lot of the questions that are on the unit test also come from the proficiency measure. So I want you to have a good understanding of why the correct answer is correct and why the wrong answer is wrong. Feel free to pause or stop this video at any time, or also rewind if you need to go back. So looking at question number 1, first off you need to use this picture. Alright, and it has a leaf, and it's showing you the process of photosynthesis, and there's a missing component. Alright, question 1, an incomplete diagram of the process of photosynthesis is provided. What is the missing component that correctly replaces the question mark to complete the diagram? Well, obviously you're needing something that is matter, which is an input, which you already have radiant energy from the sun. You have carbon dioxide, so what is missing here is water, right? Because photosynthesis involves carbon dioxide and water with the help of radiant energy to produce glucose, which is a sugar, and oxygen, which is a gas that consumers use. It says, in the diagram provided, all the following are matter except which component? Okay, well, first off, look at the one that has an arrow that's different. Also, energy is not matter, as we went over several times in class. So the correct answer here is C, radiant energy. Alright, question 3. Students are observing an aquatic plant. Aquatic just means that it lives in the water. Aqua means water. They understand that the bubbles they see rising from the cut stem of the plant are the gases produced during photosynthesis. Obviously, that gas is oxygen. Which of the following provides the best evidence that light is the source of energy for photosynthesis? So here in this question, you're looking for something that best supports that light is the source of energy for photosynthesis. So your answer needs to involve something that has light. Alright, A says plants observed in artificial or natural light were both seen to produce bubbles. I mean, yes, it does involve light, but it's not the best answer here, so let's hold on to it. Alright, B, the frequency of bubbling increases in bright light and slows to a stop in darkness. Alright, B is actually the correct answer because it's showing you evidence that light is the source of energy for photosynthesis, because it shows here that the bubbling increases in bright light, but then it slows to a stop in darkness. C, the orientation of light seems to have no effect on the production of bubbles, is not the best evidence that light is the source for photosynthesis, or energy source. The bubbles always rise to the surface of the water, moving towards the light. No, not the correct answer. The correct answer here is B, the frequency. And frequency just means how often. Okay, question 4. Which of the following best summarizes photosynthesis? Alright, A says a chemical reaction. Yes, photosynthesis is a chemical reaction, but photosynthesis does not directly involve nitrogen. Remember when we talked about the chemical formula for photosynthesis? The gas involved is carbon dioxide. That is an input, and then the gas that released is oxygen gas. So A is incorrect. B, an adaptation of plants that allows them to add nutrients to the soil? No. C, a process by which plants produce sugar using the energy of sunlight? Yes. C is correct. When you look at D, an exchange of gases between animals and the air or water of their habitat, that's talking more about the carbon and oxygen cycles. So 4 is C. Alright, question 5. The concentration of carbon dioxide, which is a gas that is produced during cellular respiration, in parts per million. Parts per million here, boys and girls, is just a measurement. The same way you would say inches, miles per hour, meters, it's just a measurement. Was measured for a closed container in several situations. Basically, that's just saying that they repeated the lab several times and got similar results. Which of the following data collected would demonstrate the action of photosynthesis? And it says, hint, consider which gas is required for photosynthesis to occur. So you're looking for a response that involves carbon dioxide levels. And since carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere and plants use that for photosynthesis, you need something where the carbon dioxide levels are decreasing. Okay, well, B, it says when carbon dioxide concentration went from 800 to 1,000 parts per million, the temperature of the container went up. Well, obviously, if photosynthesis is occurring, the levels of carbon dioxide should not increase. So B is incorrect for that reason. Your correct answer, because once again, you're looking for the best evidence, and that is D. When the container included a plant exposed to light, carbon dioxide concentration went from 800 parts per million to 600 parts per million. Okay, so the correct answer here is D. Carbon dioxide levels are decreasing. All right, for question 6, you have this diagram. It shows you food, broken down, question mark, and then you have this arrow, and it says energy is released. Well, what it's showing you here is cellular respiration, which is using oxygen to break down glucose molecules to release energy. Plants do cellular respiration, and animals also do cellular respiration. Question 6. The diagram provided above is an incomplete concept map for the process plants use to get energy from food. Which of the following best represents the missing step? Okay, well, basically, it's kind of like how we watched the TED Ed video, where you still have carbon atoms, you still have hydrogen atoms, and you still have oxygen atoms. And you still have the same numbers, 6 carbons, 12 hydrogens, 18 oxygen. In some of the classes, we also got to model this with the cubes on 2 separate occasions. So the answer here is atoms are arranged. Right? You still have carbon, you still have a hydrogen, you still have oxygen. It's just it goes from being in glucose and oxygen to when the oxygen breaks down the glucose molecule, your waste products are carbon dioxide and water. So the correct answer for 6 is A, atoms rearranged. Alright, number 7, which of the following best summarizes the process of cellular respiration in plants and animals? Okay, well, once again, it involves the breakdown of glucose by using oxygen. So A is looking really good here since it has glucose and oxygen as the inputs because they are on the left side of the arrow. And your waste products end up being carbon dioxide and water. Also, energy is produced, but energy is not matter, so that's why we do not list it here. All right, question 8. The energy animals need for their life functions is released when their cells carry out which of the following functions? Okay, well, it's cellular respiration. Once again, cellular respiration is just the breaking down of glucose. So at number 8 is A. Okay. Number 9, which of the following cannot be cycled in an ecosystem? Well, if you recall, we did the cycling of matter handout. There's a couple of pages that we read, and you read about the nitrogen cycle, the oxygen cycle, and the carbon cycle. Nitrogen is a gas that's in the atmosphere. About 78 to 79% of our atmosphere is nitrogen. And in that reading, we talked about how plants and animals can't use free nitrogen, which is nitrogen in the air. It has to be fixed, which plants typically do that because they have bacteria that live on their roots that fix the nitrogen gas, so the plants can use it. And the way you use nitrogen is any proteins that you eat usually always contain nitrogen. They have nitrogen bases. Your DNA is nitrogen based. Okay, so nitrogen can be cycled. Carbon can be cycled. Oxygen can be cycled. Nitrogen, carbon, and oxygen, those are all matter. They're all gases. So the only thing that cannot be cycled, and that is energy. And because we talked about how energy is linear, it goes in a line. The energy that comes from the sun that plants convert into chemical energy, which is glucose, and animals eat that, then, say an omnivore or a carnivore eats that herbivore/omnivore that ate the plant. It's linear. It never ever goes back to the sun. Alright, question 10. All food chains in an ecosystem begin with which of the following? Well, they always start with an energy source, and most typically that is radiant energy, which is energy from the sun. Alright, next we have an energy pyramid. Alright, I want to look at it. Of course, as you know, most of the energy is at the bottom of the pyramid. That's where most of the energy is. That's why the bottom is much larger than the top. Alright, grass, 10,000 kilocalories, grasshopper, 1,000, frog, 100, snake, 10, hawk, 1. Alright, and as you notice, you probably notice a pattern. These decrease by 10% because At each level, that organism uses about 90% of the energy that it gets from either the level below it, or if it's a producer like grass, they're at the very bottom for the sun, and they use those things for their life processes, growth, and reproduction. At number 11, about how much energy is available for the next consumer in all levels of the energy pyramid? Once again, if you do the math, it's 10%. Also, we've talked about that in class. So the correct answer, number 11, is B, 10%. Number 12, imagine that a chicken eats the grasshopper instead of the frog. I think during the proficiency measure, a lot of people didn't read this entire phrase. So basically what you do is you go up here where the frog is, and once again, you just imagine that it's a chicken instead of a frog that's eating it. How many kilocalories would the chicken receive from the grasshopper? Well, the grasshopper had 1,000 kilocalories. Only 10% of the energy is transferred. Like I taught you all in class, just drop a 0. All right, so that would be 100. Also, it's listed right here for you. The frog receives 100 kilocalories. If the chicken was to take the frog's place, it would be the same. C, 100 kilocalories. All right, number 13. Which of the following is the second level consumer in the energy pyramid above? Well, this bottom part of the energy pyramid, that's the producer. Yes, it is level 1, but it is the producer. It's the one that converts radiant energy from the sun into chemical energy that we can use. Grasshopper is the first consumer. Frog, second consumer. Well, second level consumer. The snake, third level consumer. And the hawk is the fourth level consumer. So the correct answer for number 13, second level consumer, is going to be your frog right here. Alright, so C, frog on number 13. Okay, number 14. The organisms at each level use about 90% of the energy they consume for which of the following? Well, I just went over this. For growth, reproduction, daily life function, so it is D, all of the above. Why are producers essential to an ecosystem? Yes, they convert radiant energy into chemical energy, which is A. No, they do not take oxygen. They take carbon dioxide, so B is incorrect. C, they break down glucose molecules for heterotrophs. No, that's what the mitochondria in your cells do. D, they convert chemical energy into radiant energy. No, that's just the opposite of A, and A is the correct answer. Alright, for questions 16, 17, and 18, you have a food chain here. Alright, grass, which is a producer, rabbit, which is an herbivore or your first level consumer, primary consumer, and then a wolf, which is the second level consumer, a carnivore, or secondary consumer, however you want to say that. It's the same thing as that energy pyramid, it's just in a food chain and it's in a line. Which of the following is the first level consumer? Well, that's the herbivore, which is the rabbit. You have to know that the rabbit is the herbivore. So number 16 is A. At 17, if the grass receives 80,000 kilocalories, how many kilocalories would the rabbit receive after eating the grass? Well, it's 10%, so drop a 0. Your answer is going to be C, 8,000 kilocalories. At number 18, imagine that the grass receives 80,000 kilocalories. The rabbit consumes the grass and receives energy. Okay, you just talked about that here. You said it was C, 8,000 kilocalories. Then the wolf consumes the rabbit. How much energy would the wolf receive? Once again, 10% less. So we said 8,000 for the rabbit. All right, take away a 0, 800. So number 18 is D. All right, I'm not going to go over the constructed response because we will do that in class. Also, there will not be a constructed response on your unit test. I hope that this video helps you, and I hope that you use it to study for your upcoming unit test, which will be on Tuesday. All right, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in class. And like I said, I hope this video helped you. Thank you so much for watching.